Alright, so this is our scene without any materials applied. And the first thing we need to do here is change our renderer. So I'm going to open the render setup. And on the Common tab, I'm going to scroll down, find the Assign Render option, and change the production render to V-Ray. Once I've got that done, let's go to the material editor and create our first base material so that we can see everything in a plain color and make sure the lighting is behaving the way it should. So I'm going to click and drag on a V-Ray material, rename this, and there's not much to do here. We just want to make sure that this is the lighter shade of gray that we can possibly do. We don't want this to be white because if we have a white in here, it will influence too much on the lighting, and when we switch this to the actual material, the scene will be way darker than what we intend to. So we want a light gray, but we don't want white. So I'm going to choose a light gray and click OK. And then I can select the whole scene and just apply this material. So I'm going to grab a better view and just select the whole thing, open the material editor, and apply this material. Now we should be able to start our test renders with this, but it would be nice if we were able to already see the interior of the areas we know we will be seeing. So we're going to create a glass material and apply to all the glasses in the scene. It's just a basic glass. So I'm going to create another V-Ray material, rename this, and in here we just need 100% reflectivity and 100% refractivity. There you go. So now all we have to do is select all the glasses in the scene and apply this. And one cool trick you can do here is just select everything by name. If your scene is already named the way it should, then you shouldn't have much problem to find all the glasses in your scene. So I'm going to select all of this, click OK, and then I'm just going to apply the glass material to these objects. There you go. As you can see, we already have a base for us to start working with our objects. I forgot this glass here because it is frosted glass. So I'm going to apply this here right now. There you go. And now we can start playing with this. So we're going to create a daylight system. I'm going to switch over to this wireframe view here. And I'm going in the Create panel, click on Systems, Daylight. And I'm just going to click and drag and then pull up. Just make sure that your sun is higher than your higher geometry, because otherwise it's going to clip your shadows and you want your shadows to work the way you should. So just drag until your sun is higher than your highest geometry. If you don't have enough space for you to click and drag and create a sun that is higher than your highest geometry, just go to the Modify panel, Setup, and increase the orbital scale. Okay? So now that we've got this clear, let's switch back to Modify panel, switch the sunlight to V-Ray Sun, and it's going to ask me if I want an environment map. We are going to use our own environment, but for the sake of the test render, I'm going to click yes. And I'm going to use no skylight because V-Ray uses the skylight from the GI, so no skylight. And then I can set this sun up. Like I said, I want a late afternoon render, so I'm going to lower my sun quite a bit. Something like 1830, 1835. And I don't like the way the sun is placed, so I'm going to switch the north direction so that is more in an angle. There you go. And right now we should be able to start test rendering, but we don't have our GI enabled yet. So let's open the render setup and change a few of the settings so that we can do quick test renders. First, I'm going to use an output size for this render, VistaVision. You can use any size you want, but I'm going to switch to a lower preset. And I'm going to disable the save file that I have here. Switching to V-Ray, I'm going to change my image sampler to adaptive so that we can have a very quick test render. And on the GI, I'm going to enable GI, but I won't use these engines here. For my primary engine, I'm going to use the Radiance map. I'll open the Radiance map options and I'll set the preset to medium or low. We just want quick test renders. We just want to see the overall lighting. Right now, quality is not very important. And on the light cache options, I'll leave this as it is. It's probably going to give me a very quick render already. So now that we've got this done, let's just switch the camera and do a quick test render to see how this looks. There you go. So not much to see here. We only see light. The reason for that is that we haven't set exposure control yet. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to open the rendering tab, exposure control, and I'm going to add exposure control, V-Ray exposure control. You can have either mode, photographic or EV parameter. I'm going to use EV because it's easier, and I'm going to put a value of 1 for testing. And again, another test render. All right, looking good. In my opinion, there's still too much lighting going on outside, and also I don't like how the shadows are behaving right now. So let's just tweak a few things. First, let's change to the modify panel and scroll down to the Ray Sun parameters. So right now we have a very high multiplier to the intensity of this light, and we have a very low multiplier to the size of the sun. So we have these harsh shadows. We want softer shadows, so we're going to increase the size multiplier quite a bit. That way the sun will be bigger, so the shadows will be more diffuse. So I'll put 5. And I'll lower the intensity of the sun quite a bit. Let's try something like 0.4. And we're going to do another quick test render. All right, looking better. It's still a long way to go, but it's getting closer to what we need. I'm just going to increase the size multiplier a lot more, to something like 7. And the intensity, I'm going to lower even more to something like 2. And let's do one last test render. Okay, so we're getting there. This concludes this clip. In our next clip, we're going to go on with the lighting of our scene. So see you guys then.